You can't legislate people's beliefs away. It is true.
And I think one of the major reasons we've had such a ongoing debate in the country about abortion is the fact that it was viewed as being forced upon people before they were morally, intellectually, emotionally, on whatever level ready to see that as an okay thing. The same thing with gay marriage. When the courts do that, I sometimes wonder how much of a setback they actually create toward normalization of these issues, because nobody likes to be told what to do or what to think.
Nobody's telling anybody that they have to go out and get an abortion.
That's very true.
All they're saying is that your neighbor has the right to go get an abortion.
Oh, I'm all for a woman's right to choose. There's no question about that. And I'm not even really questioning the inherent value of Roe v. Wade. But sometimes I do wonder how long it would have taken to get that right to be more universally accepted if it hadn't been forced by the courts.
But was it forced by the courts or was it forced by the people who brought the case?
Well, ultimately,
because the courts just hear the case. They don't go find the case. They don't go look for it.
They have the right to choose what cases they accept.
So perhaps it was the correct time for them to hear that case. And perhaps people just over fucking reacted.
Well, they're always overreact. I know everything happens in its own time. I just wish there was a little more rationality about some of the...
Well, in people.
In people, in general.
You're looking for rationality in people at this
before
point.
they start bringing lawsuits about things which could probably be better resolved in other ways.
But we are the litigation country. This is the way that we're going to solve all of our problems.
Dear God. We're the most litigious nation in the world.
We are. That's why there's like 1 million lawyers in this shitty little town. Yeah, but I have to disagree with what you're saying. A case is brought. Why the case ends up in front of the Supreme Court and they choose to hear said case. Once they reach a verdict, the issue should be dead.
No, I'm not arguing.
It's solved, not dead. Solved. It should be sorted.
See, I'm arguing the two cases that I kind of cited there. I actually agree with the decision. You know, in a kind of weird way, I absolutely agree with the decision. But sometimes I wonder how much of a backlash that actually creates.
Well, abortion created a huge backlash because people can't separate their own personal views of religion and somebody else's right to dictate the course of their lives.
That's why these religious liberty cases that have been brought up ever since the gay marriage ruling, I think that's the tip of the iceberg point. I think that decision is going to set off a wave of various types of religious liberty.
That's definitely going to happen because somebody who, was it Trump? Yeah, Trump. He just signed an executive order, like backpedaling the legality of preaching from the pulpit, like preaching politics from the pulpit. So religious speech now can be deemed political speech. So the two can coincide when that's actually a violation of the separation of church and state.
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah.
It is in my opinion as well.
But then you've got a vice president who tried very much those same... the same kind of religious freedom ordinance in Indiana.
And Indiana didn't take so kindly to it.
Well, a lot of businesses didn't take kindly to it and backed out of deals with the state. And
yeah, because they want to make money. You know, gay people have money and it's green like everybody else's money, and like everybody else they want to spend it. And they're going to go to the places that they deem to be friendly with them.
And corporate America.
Because corporate America doesn't care who you are, what you do. It's just
well,
give
they
them
also
your money.
have a brand that they want to protect as well. That whole situation that was going on in North Carolina there with the bathroom debate. A lot of sports teams said we're not going to be having games.
Oh, a lot of concerts did too. They lost a lot of big concerts. That's why when the new governor came in, they repealed that bill. An instance where a kind of like a boycott worked, and quickly. But you are going to see more of this religious stuff happening, and it has a lot to do with the evangelical movement and how militant it is. Because we've been living with religion in this country. Like, the whole life of the country, we've had some form of religion. Is it just now, because there's so many different types of religion, that is becoming an issue? And really before, it was just Catholics, Protestants, and Baptists, and then the Jewish people kind of thrown in.
During the 1800s, there was a huge push towards spiritualism.
Yeah, but that was like a parlor trick.
There was a lot of adherence to it.
But a very small segment of the population, and they weren't the ones who would take a case to the Supreme Court. It's all about the self-righteousness of religion and the belief that your religion and your point of view on your religion is better than anybody else's religion or anybody else's point of view. Or the self-righteousness
of a lot of people who claim no religion. They can be just as unctuous about it as the religious people are.
Yeah, atheists can be pretty militant too. So the whole thing with religion and the Supreme Court, we'd really like to see them hold that separation of church and state. Cannot make state-based decisions on religious information. The biggest one is the Roe v. Wade, right? Well, there's a lot of these kind of cases we can get into it, but as far as one that has religiosity overtones,
Well, gay marriage too.
and the gay marriage, that has nothing to do with people's religion. Marriage is a civic right. You can have your religious ceremony, but when it comes to signing that marriage certificate, that's a civic. From a civic point of view, all you're saying is that you have responsibility for the children that you produce, and that you're going to share your assets and income.
My fear is that, because it's what they're doing, they're trying to use this religious liberty law not to get around gay marriage, but to overturn the ruling on it. That's really what they're trying to do.
But why? But why? But why? It's done. See, irritates the shit out of me. Okay, and if anybody should be trying to overturn anything, it's Citizens United. Citizens United should go. That 1880 ruling that made corporations people, that should go. Because that actually damages the lives of everybody. Gay marriage only impacts the people who are getting married. That you don't know and that you've never met before, walking into your heterosexual wedding on your wedding day and objecting to you getting married.
They don't see it like that because they're basing their beliefs on the Bible.
So now we're back to that.
And what these preachers come up with.
And now we're back to that, what I was just saying about that executive order that Trump just signed. So now he's saying, oh, no, you can go ahead and preach politics from the pulpit, it's fine. They should not get their tax credits if they're going to preach politics, because they are in essence picking a side. They're picking a political party. You've entered the realm of the state. It's time to start paying some taxes.
Because these people don't want a democracy, they want a theocracy.
And they didn't want a theocracy, because then that just equals people being burned at the stake. And who really wants to see that? Who wants to smell that? Because the reason why this country is peaceful is because people have the freedom to ignore your ass when you get all preachy, and to know that it's not going to affect them personally, and that you're just preachy.
But see, they don't want that. There are pastors out there now from the right side in this evangelical world that are basically saying that gay people should be killed. If some of these separations between church and state are eliminated, you're going to have these people feel more and more empowered, and they're no different than ISIS and Islamicists in the Middle East.
No, they're not. Am I the only person that remembers the abortion clinic bombings in the 80s?
They're or McVeigh.
Are we the only people that remember these things? Remember when the Christians lose their shit and start blowing stuff up? Remember the IRA? Okay, all of that was Catholics versus Protestants. The reason why it escalated was because the Protestants and the Catholics were killing each other.
And there's no difference between some of these radical Christians here and these Islamicists.
No, radical religious radicalism is the same. It activates the same place in your brain and releases the same chemicals, thereby informing the same behavior, right?